Okay, so for my third science concept explanation, I decided to do a video in kind of like a diagram. And so for this, I was going to show the relative size of what the planets actually are in comparison to the sun, and also in comparison to everyday objects you can find around your house. So for the sun, you need something that's about 8 inches in diameter. And I found this glass orb in my house, and I stuck some fairy lights in it, so that's our sun. And now we're going to look and see how the planets compare to the size of our sun. Alright, so our first planet is Mercury, and for this you can use a pinhead. And a pinhead is the flat top of a pin that you stick in like papers, or you stick in a sewing ball or whatever. So if you find the flat top of the pin, you can use that as your representation for Mercury. Okay, our second planet to look at is Venus, and for this I used a peppercorn. You can really use any object as long as it's 8/100ths of an inch, but this is what I had on hand, so I picked a peppercorn. And you can look at these two planets in comparison of the sun, and you can see it's vastly different, and the planets are minuscule in comparison to the sun. Moving on to our third planet, which is Earth, you also need something that is 8/100ths of an inch here. You can either use a peppercorn again, or you can use another object you find so that the students can discriminate between the two, but as long as you have something around the same size. Our next planet is Mars, and here again we're going to use a pinhead because Mars is also a very small planet. So just use a pinhead like you did before. And if we look again, these planets are still tiny in comparison. Alright, so moving on to our next planet, which is Jupiter, if I can move the grape. Alright, so for Jupiter, it's actually the largest planet in our solar system, and its diameter of what you're looking for in an object is 9/10ths of an inch, and so for this I used a grape. You could also use something like a chestnut or a pecan. Anything like that will do, but I had grapes in my fridge, so I pulled out a grape. But comparing our grape to our sun, it's still a huge difference. We can still see that our planets are tiny in comparison to the sun. The next planet is Saturn, and the diameter you're looking for this object is 7/10ths of an inch. It's the second biggest planet in our solar system, and so I found a small jalapeno slice in my fridge, and I decided to use that. If you look back, you can still see the vast difference between Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter is so much bigger than the rest of the planets in our solar system. Alright, moving on to our seventh planet that we're going to look at, which is Uranus. For Uranus, you're looking for an object that is 3/10ths of an inch in diameter. And so I was looking through everything, and what I found that fit this was a Benadryl pill. You could also use a coffee bean or a small peanut, something like that, to use your representation as Uranus. And then for our eighth and final planet, we have Neptune, and it also uses a Benadryl pill for its representation. And you're looking for something that's 3/10ths of an inch in diameter. Okay, so this is an overhead view of what the planets will look like in comparison to each other and also to the sun. And so you can see the different sizes and how large or small they are. So here's the sun, Mercury, the tiny speck, Venus and Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So I hope through this video you were able to learn about how the sizes are in comparison to the sun, and also how they can be compared to common objects that we find in our houses. Because prior to researching, I had no clue how tiny some of these planets were in comparison to the sun, and also how they hold up against common day objects. So I hope this was interesting.